Hello, dear friends. We're glad to welcome you back on Alatra TV Middle East. In today's live conversation, we will have a look at the educational system in the creative society. We will also discuss the foundations of a safe and prosperous society where each person is valuable and has all the means for self development and personal fulfillment. Just before we start, I would like to first address to our dear viewers. Please don't hesitate to ask a question right in the live chat box on the YouTube because the most interesting questions will surely be asked by the end of our conversation, by the end of our broadcast. And also, please don't forget to share this video with your friends and colleagues on your social networks, adding two hashtags hashtag Creative Society and hashtag Alatra Unites. And to those of you who joined us recently, I would like to remind what a creative society actually is. So, this is a project that has been initiated by volunteers of Alatra International Public Movement. And throughout this unique project, people from more than 180 countries of the world uh, communicate with people, conduct social surveys, take interviews to find out what a creative society is for the people. How do they envisage a society where a person is happy, lives comfortably, and feels valuable? So, in today's live conversation, my co host will be Alina from Italy. Hi, Alina. How are you doing?
Very good. How are you, Kate?
I'm good. Thank you.
I'm so happy that we have our very special guest today from United Arab Emirates. But before I introduce you, I would like to remind our viewers that throughout this project, we are also testing the theory of six handshakes. And for those who is not familiar to this theory, it's a social theory according to which we are all connected, like all people in the world, they are connected through five or fewer social connections also. That means that we are not strangers to everyone, to everybody. So today's guest came to us through one of such a connection, and I'm very happy to welcome today Dr. Sanakshi Ruhela. Dr. Sanakshi is currently in Dubai. She is head of academics, humanities, arts, and applied science in University, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Hello, Dr. Sanakshi, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation. How is your day today?
Wonderful, Alina, and thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, Catherine, as well. It's wonderful to be with both of you here and definitely a live audience.
Thank you so much. Dr. Sanakshi, we know that you are an experienced academician, education, and psychologist, and that you work in the higher education industry. You communicate with a lot of young people and people of all ages. Can you please share with us your story? What inspired you to choose this work? What motivated you to start this journey and to continue?
Actually, it's a very beautiful question, but I'll share it in a different manner. It's a very fortunate accident that I landed up into psychology as a field. Uh, the accident is that I wanted to do HR, I wanted to do human resources, and I wanted to become an HR executive. And then, plans of life were different. And then I met somebody very significant in my life, a close friend of my mother, and she asked me, everybody does BBA, MBA, and HR. What is new about it? So why don't you try and do something which is new? And psychology is a good field, and it gives you an edge over understanding human behavior. So why not we do psychology and then move to doing human resources? And it could pave a very good way for you. And you'll be different. You'll stand out from the regular crowd. And I thought that's a brilliant idea. And so I picked up on psychology, studied it till my first and the second semester, loved it, got hooked onto it. Especially, paper counseling, which is my specialization, was so attractive to me. the ability to be able to, understand people, listen to people, still feel better about it, um, and having a very solution focused approach, that caught up with me, and I thought I'm going to stay in this field. Then teaching was not something that I planned initially for me. I always wanted to get into counseling as a field. Um, I'm a very strong believer of the fact that clinical psychology is needed to that 1% to 2% of population who suffer from mental disorders or mental illnesses. However, counseling is required with 100% of the population in the world. So I wanted to reach out to masses and not to a very specific population. So counseling came naturally to me as an idea. And from there, then I got hooked on to teaching, got a very early opportunity with Amity University. I'm very thankful to Amity University for sharing such an early opportunity of teaching and research. And I mean, I was glued.
Thank you very much. And what actually motivates you? What inspires you to, find out more interesting things in your job? And what what inspires you to make you happy every day?
I wish I could show you and take you to my, faculty cabin at this point, and I could take you to the room that I stay in. Uh, I think mere appreciation, validation that I receive every day on an everyday basis from my students, from the work that I do. Sometimes when I take a class, and I'm very excited, I want to share a concept. Like for example, I love the classes of marriage and family therapy, or talking about relationships in general. And I walk into the class and I share an example, and I see their face, changes when they understand it or they absorb it. Um, and sometimes I have goosebumps from my own lectures, and I'm like, I did a good job today. So the mere fact that when I get up in the morning, it doesn't feel like a burden walking to the university, because I'm a professor by choice. This is something that I wanted to do. So I consider myself very lucky, and that is my motivation. I am amongst that hardly 5% of the population in the world who are in a profession that they want to.
Awesome.
So that is my motivation. I love my job. I love the fact that I can get up in the morning. I will never get bored of it. That's my motivation.
That's important. And this is really the motivation to continue the creative and you do. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you so much.
And what is true happiness to you?
It's a very beautiful, question, and I often think about it. A lot of people try, and in fact, I see a lot of students these days reading books, self-help books, talking about where do I draw happiness from. So whenever I face these questions, I have a two-way answer to it. One is, to me, happiness is having a wonderful social surrounding. I have a social surrounding where when I'm not feeling okay, I can reach out to my parents, I can reach out to my friends, and I know there is an availability. They're never going to say, I don't know, I'm not there for you, or we are busy. No. So I have been able to create a social surrounding around myself from where we draw the best of the happiness. So I think the happiest person today in the world is a person who understands that human resource is the best resource to capitalize on. And I think the second reason of happiness is an individual's personality. I'm very contented with what I have in life. Obviously, I'm ambitious. I want to do more in life. Yet, I'm not directionless. I understand, what is the purpose of getting up tomorrow, where I want to be. And that gives me happiness at the end of the day. I enjoy the fact that one can be happy, one can understand exactly what do they want out of this life. That's the real road to happiness.
Thank you very much. And also, I really enjoyed that you said it's good when you have surroundings, have people who can uh, cheer you up, when you have people who can support you and also help you, uh, you know, um, once you have struggles or difficult situations. And could you please also share with us what do you think true love is?
Oh, I think that's the most beautiful question I've, encountered in the last 1 week or so. Um, we are struggling with love. And this is something that I love talking about because relationships is an area I feel I have expertise in. Love, and the pure definition of love is the ability to accept oneself as it is. Love and the journey for love, and I tell this to all my students, starts only when there is an immense amount of acceptance of who you are. Then you're able to give. Then you're able to project. Then you're able to understand and believe. So love is a mixed. It's a mixed concept. The concept starts with self and extends to the society. However, these days people understand love in a very different way. They want from society without giving. So, it's a two-way traffic. It's never a one-way traffic. So, the first and foremost, or the root of finding love and compassion, must begin with understanding oneself in totality. Yeah, for example, most of the people, when I ask them, students in university, I ask them, so tell me, what are you passionate about? And they look at me blank. I mean, they're looking at other people to share what exactly are they passionate about, draw that information, cut, copy, paste, and apply it to their lives. It doesn't happen like that. So to me, love is a pure understanding of who you are as a person. What are you want? What are your desires? How much compassionately accepting are you of your own self? And only then you can extend it to the society. I always give students a very good example. I feel I say, when you take a flight, people say, put your mask first. That's the most important aspect, the ability to put your mask first, because if you're able to breathe, you can help 10 others around you. So, yeah, love to me is gratitude towards acceptance of self and loving oneself without faults.
This deep understanding of who you are and finding yourself, and then feeling capable to express love and understanding and acceptance and gratitude all around you. Very beautifully said. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Sanati. We have a very special question to you. How do you in a creative society? When we say creative society, we mean the society where everyone would live happily and comfortably and prosperously, like not only a certain of people, but to humanity.
I think most important here, Alina, is to understand that when we talk about creative society, we're looking at a society that is very confident and very comfortable in their skin. And you only get comfortable and confident in your own skin when you know exactly what your skills and competencies are. So, a creative society, I think, I believe, should be a combination of people who have an understanding of their own skills and competencies. They understand that this is not a race, yeah, and not everybody has to be on the top of the situation, you know. So, we are looking at a society which has a multicultural understanding, very importantly. Um, it has empathy, which is a very important factor, which we lack quite a lot. And thankfully, to COVID, at least 0.1% of the 0.001% of the population now understands empathy is important and not sympathy. We're looking at people who are inquisitive. They have to be curious. They have to understand that settling in is not necessary. So a lot of people just settle. So they settle with anything and everything that comes their way. However, if you're curious, if you're inquisitive, if you want to establish, if you want to strive, only then exploration can create a society which brings in multitude of ideas, which will bring in a lot of comfort and discussion. In fact, these days I see a lot of people avoiding dialogues, and I personally think if you don't have a dialogue, you don't have an idea. And if you don't have an idea, who will you discuss it with? And if you don't discuss it with, then how can you be creative? So, a creative society is a society which is not confrontative. It's a society which encourages dialogue, which encourages exploration, which encourages freedom of speech, which is very important, encourages equalitarianism. I want a society which has which has the balance of gender and has voices enough to. So I don't need a feminist movement. I don't need a men focused movement. I don't need any other movement to understand that I am a woman or he's a man and then we have equal rights. So, it's a combination of a lot of things. Another thing that I think is very important in a creative society is to respect the fact that we have multiple types of intelligence. And I can probably be somebody who's very good with interpersonal skills, but I cannot expect everybody to be good at interpersonal skills. And I might lack a lot of let's say musical skills, but I have very good social skills. So capitalizing on strengths and not crying over the spilled beans, as they say, over I don't have good musical intelligence, or I wish I could play one of the orchestras there. Well, that's not my strength. So a creative society is a strength focused, solution focused society, because problems are inevitable, they will always come, but you have to make a society which looks at the solution bit of it and not focus on the problems. So that is my envision of a creative society, bubbling with energy, youthful, focused on creating things. They should be focused on making sure that there are creations around them and not, capitalizing on what has been already created. So that's my
Wow,
envision.
that gave me a picture of a very open society, really a society which is open to each member of such a society.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Melina. I'll share something beautiful with you here. The other day I was in a talk and somebody said, "Oh, you are too open minded, but aren't you Indian?" And I said, "Oh, well, I am open minded. I am Indian. And I understand you come from France and you're probably judgmental." This was the dialogue that we had between each other. That I understand that judgments come so handy to being open minded. So there is no culture and there is no community that can, exist creatively if we don't understand the judgments and open mindedness. These things need to be taken care of. Be as open minded as you can and keep judgments as less as you possibly can.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sonakshi. And I also enjoyed what you mentioned about being curious, this curiosity. Probably one of the I would say childish characteristics when we are young, when we are very little, we are curious for everything in the world. Why the sky is blue, why the tree is green or the grass is green, why this is happening this way. So always have this desire to learn, and creative society is also society of people who are always inspired to learn new things and to implement their ideas. So thank you very much for mentioning that. And you know, uh, going back to our topic of creative society and learning, could you please share with us how do you see the educational system in creative society? How should it function? you know how should it work so that everyone, the students, the teachers, professors, and everyone could have a possibility to develop, to grow professionally and personally as well?
I think it's a wonderful question, and I'll break it into two, three parts. Because, when we talk about an educational system, we often think it's only students who need to be taught. However, educational system has many stakeholders. Um, the teaching being one of teachers being one of that, parents being one of that, um, then students being one another bit of it, and then there is management, and there are many other stakeholders who create an educational system today. So most importantly is for us to understand that if you're a student, your curiosity must be at at its peak. For you, learning is your occupation. So if you're not doing your occupation well, then you are obviously reaping the benefits of it. You know, I say a lot of things are available on Google, but they're debatable. So if you had a homeschooling pattern, then it's a good pattern. I don't deny the fact that homeschooling is a good pattern, but if you're walking up to the university, you're seeking those level of education, you're also trying to build yourself into five aspects of being. The five aspects are personal life, professional life, social life, environmental life, and most importantly, temperamental life, which is you try to adjust with people who understand your temperaments, or in a very generic language, mood, how mood related concerns. So these five aspects of life must go in um, in equality or in uniformity with each other to have the maximum impact. So educational systems must have multiple intelligence systems. I think Howard Gardner, one of the psychologists, has done a brilliant job with promoting, discipline, or promoting the idea of multiple intelligences, which I think should be a part of our culture at a very young age. So people identify what their strengths are and capitalize on it, rather than focusing on things which do not compromise or do not comprise of the basics of life, as they say. Another thing, if I had an option, I probably would add a lot to the education system by talking about concepts such as positivity, gratitude, or in fact, even giving a proper, education of self-awareness, of self-esteem at a very, very early age to children. Another thing about financial management, which has become a huge crisis, but nobody talks about it. I would give a young child an understanding of financial management, because I know when they grow up and become an adolescent or an adult, they struggle with it. I struggle with it. You struggle with it. So if we knew it at a very early age, which is called impressionable age or wet sand, as they say, then we are able to give them a better shape. The second bit of it is teachers. So the education system, it comprises primarily of the academic staff or the teachers, which are very important. I often have a feeling that there is no scale to identify a teacher's ability to be a teacher. But once you're there, you need to understand that it is so important to continuously work on yourself. Because by the time you and I are talking, there are so many new things that have been added to the repertoire. Each person's a subject. So I often see this one phenomenon in faculty and staff, which is like, okay, we've got the job now, we've got to live off it. Or we've got the job now, what comes to the bank account is most important. No, that's not what your motive should be. Your motive should be personal growth, professional growth, social growth, so you can imply that in your students as well. A very simple example is anxious parents cannot have non anxious children. So, anxious faculties, underconfident, low self esteem faculties, they give the same thing that they hold to the children. So, in educational system, there should be, facets where there should be constant growth in terms of what you have been your professional development, adding to your repertoire of knowledge, increasing your research intake, increasing, capitalizing on your strengths, building on it, keeping your passions and hobbies intact. Because once you become a faculty, does not mean your life ends. I get my female colleagues and friends that I meet, they say, oh, we have work and then we have children and life is finished. So they need to understand that there are so many plethora of things that they could add to their repertoire. So I encourage all the faculties and all the parents who speak to me to live a four-dimensional life. Work, home, then you must have a recreation. So you must find out ways that make you happy. And the fourth dimension of life, I personally feel, is reaching out to society, to joining some voluntary work, engaging yourself with community, because it gives back manyfold. So that is the third aspect of it. And parents, sometimes my word for making an educational system is it's a triangle. The parents work with teachers, the teachers work with children, and children work with parents. So whatever I teach them in the morning, if they imply in the evening to the parents and it doesn't function, then my teachings are failed. So parents need to have a very strong connect with what is my child learning and how could I add to that learning as well. I've had a situation where a parent has learned Spanish because the child is learning Spanish, because the child will forget if they converse with them in Spanish in the evening. But what is their native language? Their native language is Hindi because they come from India.
Mhm.
So making that effort. So education is a cumbersome, it's a holistic holistic learning. It needs to have all the different, society fragments of the society working in together to make a very holistic, culture. So it should be a culture of learning. It should be a culture of open conversation, of talk, of beauty around, appreciation. I mean, given a choice, believe me, I can actually take my classes outside in the sun, or outside in the winters. I don't want to be caged to the idea of having only a classroom. So sometimes I have done that. I've had my children take off their socks and take off their shoes, and we walked barefoot in our beautiful. We have a luxurious ground in Amit University Dubai campus. It's about I think massive ground. So I told them, I said, the weather is beautiful, the grass is wet, let's walk on it. And they said, oh, we can't walk on it. Are you serious? We can't walk on it. I said, no, let's enjoy. No, let's see. We get used to it. That was the day I think I was teaching them something about how people get used to dysfunctionality and functionality of life. So the first time that they put their foot in the mud, they were obviously they were uncomfortable. And 10 minutes of walk, they became comfortable to the same thing that they were uncomfortable with. So I think I could teach them that better in the area, in the ground area, rather than teaching her in the classroom. How to get comfortable to uncomfortable things.
Interesting.
Thank
And then now you talked about those four pillars, how to organize your life, and fourth important pillars, there every person should be efficient. I thought that it's a great vision. What we are like missing now as society is time to do everything properly, and it reminded me about initiatives I read about the from Finland and Japan to build a 4 hour working day and 4 days working week. And
you.
then that's a great initiative if we really stay efficient at work 4 hours, and then we will have time for our families and for our social activity, for recreation, as you mentioned. What do you think about it? How important should it be to organize it that way?
I would be definitely somebody who would be keen on something like that. Um, like I said, if somebody comes and says, sometimes I do that, that, oh, I work till from 9 to 9, and I don't think that's something that one should be very proud of, because maybe the work that you do could possibly do from 9 to 5 is something that you stress. So you're not efficient for sure. Time management is very important, because once you come back at 9 o'clock, you don't have the energy to interact with. And I often say this: once I've had a counseling client, and I've had like 4 or 5 clients in the day, and then I don't want to talk to my family in the evening. I'm so hungry. The first thing I'm very hungry. So I sit, I have my meal. I don't want to talk to my family because I've just talked the whole day. Practically, I've just listened to everybody the whole day. So I don't want to do that. So we need to understand that we need to find a mechanism where our efficiency and effectiveness are both catered to.
Yeah, at the global level again,
At
right?
the global level. Yes, at the global level. So if you are given a time frame that you have 4 days a week and you can work on it, and if that is making massive differences in their country's economic condition and happiness quotient of the people, work quotient of the people, social quotient of the people, then I think it's a brilliant step. I think it's a magnificent step, something which is very important for the well-being. The day we start to ignore the mental well-being of the people is the day that downfall starts to happen, because your body can endure only that much level of stress and pressure. After that, it will start giving up.
Yeah, we should care about everybody's health in our society. It's a mutual interest of all people to have a healthy society, and to work on this mention is very much important for every level for all people who are kind of responsible to create such conditions today. There is always a window to think about it, right? Like they did in Finland or Japan. And thank you so much for sharing your understanding about it. I would like now to come to the topic of a foundation of creative society. Why are they important? Because in order to build such a society there everyone will feel comfortable. We should be united by one goal. And the basis of such a goal are the 8 foundations of a creative society. Dear viewers, to learn more about it, please visit allatraunites.com webpage, and you will find there the article, The Foundations of the Creative Society and the Stages of its Creation. So, construction. Sorry. So you can read the details about it, but I would like shortly introduce you the foundations today. You will see on the screen. So the first foundation is human life. The second foundation is human freedom. The third foundation is human safety. The fourth foundation is transparency and openness of information for all. The fifth foundation is the creative ideology. The sixth foundations, and we talked a lot about it today, is development of personality. The seventh foundation is justice and equality. And the eighth foundation is crucial and important is self-governing society. Yeah. So these are the 8 foundations of a creative society.
Thank you very much, Alina, for such a good presentation. And right now, Dr. Sonakshi, I would like to talk on the fifth foundation, which is called the creative ideology. Uh, Technical support will bring it on the screen. So I would like to talk in detail about this foundation. So the creative ideology. Ideology should be aimed at popularizing the best human qualities and stopping everything that is directed against the human. The main priority is the priority of humanity, high spiritual and aspirations of a humanness, virtue, mutual respect, and strengthening of friendship, creating conditions for the development and education of a human with a capital H, cultivating moral values in each person and society, prohibition of propaganda of violence, condemnation, and sorry, denunciation of any form of division, aggression, and anti-humane manifestations. So, Dr. Sonakshi, could you please share with us what do you think about this foundation? What are your thoughts about it?
I think it's very well laid out. Most important, I was stuck on the word which says mutual respect, which a lot of us are missing these days, and we don't understand this these days. It's very easy to belittle people. It's very difficult to accept them as they are. Uh, yes, we need a lot of work regarding anti-human relations, again, regarding violence and why it needs to stop. And I think one of the most important, thing here to talk is intolerance in people. As a creative ideology, we see that we need to become a tolerant society. This intolerance towards the existence of the significant other or the co-being, as they say in the society, is a really troublesome avenue, is a really troublesome area because, uh, especially COVID, and I want to bring COVID-19 here. Uh, there were families that suffered because they were asked to be home quarantine. They were asked to stay together. There were so many families that suffered because they didn't know how to stay with each other 24 hours per day. Their life is going so fast, with us spending almost 80% of our times at workplaces and almost 20% of the times, with our loved ones, as they say, that we have developed an intolerance towards the people who love us and love them. So, yes, in a creative ideology, one needs to uh, condemn the acts of violence, one needs to build in a more tolerant society, one needs to be, yes, more development of mutual respect, acceptance. Uh, and another beautiful thing that I think is the fact that everyone has the right to live the way that they want to and live the way that they really see, you know. So the methods through which you make your life more meaningful, more worthwhile. And that is creative ideology, to running after making your life worth it. So that's what I think about this particular.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a powerful understanding. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanati.
Thank you.
What would you say? How important is it to implement these 8 foundations of a creative society in all spheres of human life of our society, and how quickly it could change our society to a creative one?
Um, this will take time. So, because I don't want to paint a rosy picture for you and say, it's something which can, yet it's possible. And the after effects of having a society with these wonderful 8 creative ideologies or creative bases is going to be magnificent. That is going to be the real picture of how, that's when the real and the ideal will meet each other. Because at this point of time, the in fact, I want to really congratulate both of you and the team that you have, that you are voicing out about creativity, that you're talking about life, human life, freedom of life, freedom of expression, uh, because we've forgotten about it. We breathe and we live, we go to work, we come back home, is the routine of life. uh, this is quantitative in nature. It's quantifiable that I live 365 days a year. However, the creative ideas that you have mentioned here, that will add to the qualitative aspect of your life. It'll make your life mm, beautiful, holistic, uh, growing. It'll be growth oriented, and it'll give you a compassionate idea of coexisting with people. All three of us, as I can see, are so different from each other. All three of us. And I'm sure all the audiences that are watching as well, all of us are so different from each other. And the day we start to appreciate that we have these differences and we like these differences and we can make these beautiful differences work in our favor, the better the output will be. So I'm absolutely, I give my word and I say that this particular, ideology or this particular creative society will have higher rates of happiness quotient, higher rates of compassion, higher rates of um, love, the topic that we started with, uh, more tolerance amongst the society, and this society would not, it will be the constructive, the ideological, the ideal society, uh, and would not be another cut, copy, paste. It'll be original. It'll be authentic. That'll be the beauty of it.
Because I feel this is a society we are all looking for inside ourselves.
And also, I wanted to ask you another question. You mentioned that we all are different, but what do you think, all people in the world, in terms, regardless of these difficulties, regardless of nationality, religion, place where we live, social status, skin color, or whatever, what do we all have in common?
I can answer that question in two very different ways. One is as simple as a smile. If you see, all three of us are here, I'm smiling and you're smiling back, is the most common thing that we can share. Um, the second bit of that is I would say not a sad bit, but something that we can work towards. We, all of us as human beings, have one thing in common, that is vulnerability. We are vulnerable. We have some amount of suffering in all of us. Maybe I have more, you have less, you have more, I have less. But we will all relate to that one common suffering or that one common vulnerability that says, you know, um, as I always say, sometimes it's so filled that a single handshake or a single smile can break you down. And that happens universally anywhere possible. It's possible anywhere. So, what unites us sometimes is a very simple smile and the acceptance of the fact that everybody is suffering some or the other way. So it's not like your suffering is more or my suffering is less. We all are going through, like I said, 100% of the population is counseling, because we all somewhere we are stuck, and only we force together can we actually move ahead. So this is something that I personally think unites everyone. We are
That's
all
very important.
striving to, we are all striving to want something, and if we are forced together, then we'll be able to achieve it as well.
Yeah. It's what I appreciate what you mentioned, that the way out we can find only together.
Yes.
That is not my problem, it is more important. My suffering is stronger than the other one, but we are all stuck, and the way out we can find only all together, by understanding that we all deserve a better world, a better world, a better condition. Can all develop and grow. So, Dr. Sanakshi, thank you so much for being with us today, for this conversation. I'm sure our viewers enjoyed as much as we, right, Kate?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much for joining today, for taking your time and sharing your thoughts on this topic, sharing your experience and your ideas. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you, and thank you to the Alatra Unites and the project that you're doing. It's so wonderful. And I think there is a lot more need to talk, because the society is still coming up from the unawareness, from the darker unawareness of things around us. So it's most important that, and my congratulations to you and your entire team, both of you, and your entire team for doing such a wonderful work. uh, you know, um, you are able to show us a ray of hope in a very dark tunnel, as they say. So, congratulations to the entire team as well.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so much.
much.
Here, I would like to announce, sorry, Kate, so, to announce that on Sunday we will run the second roundtable on psychology, the sum of love, of life. So, and you will be able to continue to watch the understanding of our precious speakers and very valued guests. And Dr. Sanakshi will be one of the guest speakers on this conference on roundtable. So please join us. We will talk about the choices. What are the choices we are making in our life, right and wrong choices which empower us, choices which make us weaker, and how to master our choices. So it will be on Sunday live at 6:30 Central Eastern Time. We will share on our networks, social networks.
Thank you very much, Ali, for sharing this information with our viewers. And I also would like to add that um, it is very easy to join the project Creative Society, and everyone can do that simply by entering the webpage alatraunites.com and pressing on the red button join. After that, you need to fill out a very short form, and the participants of Allotram will get in touch with you and direct you how you can help and what you can.
Yours, if you want to contribute into the society and to participate in a live conversation, or to make part of our 6 degrees of connection live show, please write us to info@alatriunite.com or uae@alatriunite.com. You can also participate in conversations on Alatra Radio in our podcasts and share your understanding and your mission of Creative Society. Contact us to info@alatriunite.com. And if you would like to share these broadcasts on your social media networks, please don't forget to use two hashtags. First, Allatra Unites, and second, Creative Society. So leave your comments below this video and please join our six hashtags initiative, because the quicker we the wider audience will know about the Creative society, the quicker, the faster we begin to live in such a society. So thank you everyone for staying with us today. Thank you, Dr. Sanakshi, for your time, for your precious understandings. Kate. It was great to co-host with you again, and see you soon on Metro TV Middle East. Bye.